I grew up in a small cottage on this road called Forest Lake Road. It's very descriptive because there was a forest, a lake, and a road, and it was a really great place to grow up. It felt very open to the imagination. And anyways, now I'm sitting in the gravel pit. This is at the end of the road. There's this big pit of just sand that was the town's supply of gravel. And as kids, there's a hole in the fence that is still there. That's how I got in. It's actually bigger now. But we used to sneak in here and run around, and sometimes we'd get chased out by the police. So that was, or whoever was the security or whatever. But that was a lot of, those are some good memories. And now if you see behind me all these trees, that used to just be a mound of sand. So it's kind of crazy that they kind of let it go, and now all these trees have grown here. I don't think they really use this place anymore, so figured I would. Anyways, yeah, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite things from 2019, and I have a list. Here it is. These gloves make it hard. When I think about the things I watch, and I don't like this elitism of acting like just because something's in a theater or made by a big company, it's at all different. Because at the end of the day, everything we watch is just pictures and sound. It doesn't matter the screen you watch it on. So, somebody's raw cell phone footage online could be just as impactful as $1 million movie. And I think that's an exciting thing about the age we're moving into. You can watch somebody's vlog on your plasma screen TV, or you could watch a Marvel movie on your phone. So what's the difference? It's all media. It's all film in a way. But so when I wanted to talk about what I watched broadly, I just want to talk about anything that I viewed that impacted me, whether it be funny or artful. And I don't want to limit it to things that came out this year, because I think we live in such an age where all media we've amassed is always available. So I think you could always, like, a lot of these are old films or something like that. Just things that I really liked that I'd like to pass along to you. So let's start. So firstly, I'll start big. I found probably my new favorite film this year, and that's Love Streams by John Cassavetes. I will put links to everything in the description. If they're not available for free, I'll just include an IMDb page or something in the description. But yeah, Love Streams is a film by the filmmaker John Cassavetes, is a big hero of mine. He was a real renegade. He was essentially one of the first, if not the first, people to just grab a camera and make a movie with his friends. And that was in the 50s. He made Shadows. And yeah, he never bent over to any corporations or distributors, and he hated the material world of film. And just watching interviews with him. Another one of my favorite things I've watched many times this year is this interview with him called Television Sucks. That's how it's uploaded to YouTube. And in it, he just completely tears apart Hollywood and the sheep-like mentality of too many moviegoers. And it was from the 80s, but it still holds so much weight today. But anyways, his movie Love Streams was this strange experience for me where it's not an overtly sad movie. There's no death in it. There's nothing horrible. But I found myself, after I watched it, I just cried for must have been hours. I cried for an hour after the credits ended. And I've never had that experience with a film where I was just kind of emotionally like devastated by it in a way I couldn't place. It felt like it was coming from within me, and it happened. I watched it 2 more times this year, and every time I just leak. I'm just a fucking mess after that movie. So there's some weird power in it, especially for me. I don't know why. Yeah, that's a good one. Another great one I watched of his is A Woman Under the Influence. That one is equally devastating, but all of his movies are worth watching. All right, I'll try to move a little quicker because I don't know how long this camera has. All right, up next is Ross McElwee. I hope I'm not, it might be McElwee, but he's a documentary filmmaker who's been making stuff for a couple decades. And his most famous is Sherman's March, and he makes these kind of a home movie, very like personal, like it's the equivalent to what a vlog would be nowadays, but they're kind of personal journal films, and they just capture life in such a way that I don't see often, and they feel very narrative despite the fact that it's documentary, and it's just like he has these 3 films that I love. The one is Sherman's March, the other one is Time Indefinite, and the last one is, what was the other one? Bright Leaves, which is a more recent one of his. But he just makes these really beautiful films about just his own life, and he captures it in such a way that is pretty objective in a lot of ways. It kind of lets you feel what you want to feel about it, but he does have some personal narration and thoughts he does include. But those are really worth checking out. A couple movies that made me cry. This is, you might notice a pattern here. I'm pretty two-note when it comes to the movies I enjoy. I either love a movie that can make me laugh a lot or a movie that can make me cry a lot. And I watched this movie, Make Way for Tomorrow, from the 30s. And it's this old Hollywood film about this old couple. And all their kids and grandchildren are kind of neglecting them. And it's just tragic. And it's very naturalistic and almost too real for a film that's from 30s Hollywood. So that one got me good. Another one is David Lean, Brief Encounter. I'm a sucker for a good tragic romance, and that was good and tragic, so check that one out. I watch a lot of these on the Criterion channel. That's a good streaming service if you really want to explore film. I'd recommend it. What else? One of my favorite movies, this one actually came out this year, was Indoor Garden by Dax Flame. If you don't know Dax Flame, he's kind of an infamous YouTuber from back in the day. But I think some of his recent uploads, and especially this is a feature-length documentary he put on his channel. It's free. You can watch it now. It made me cry. It's really kind of beautiful and unique, and in a lot of the ways his old stuff was, but people would just laugh at it, and I don't think he gives you the opportunity to laugh this time, which I really think, I don't know. I messaged him about it. We had a nice little talk. So I released my movie Island this year, which is my most recent feature. I just put it up on YouTube as well. And that's my favorite thing I've ever made. And if I'm being totally honest, it's my favorite movie that came out this year. And I don't think that's a prideful thing to say. I think it's just it's almost obvious that a film you make is clearly going to be the one that impacts you the most, is most tied to you. And I don't like this idea that we can't be like, yes, I love my movie, because why wouldn't you love your movie? So check that one out too. But through releasing that, this is the tangent, but I met a couple filmmakers who also make and release their own stuff that I really admire. I met Cody Clarke. He's a filmmaker. He's made about, I think, 7, almost maybe 8 feature films himself, and they're all worth checking out. But he has these 3 I really love called Shredder and Bad. Bad is a really good film he did. It was shot all in one day, and it's just about a couple staying in bed all day, and it's just these conversations that you feel like you're a fly on the wall, and you shouldn't be there. It feels very personal. And the last one he did is Strummer, which is a sequel to Shredder, but I actually helped him film a couple scenes for Strummer, and it was great to get to know him. And I think we'll be longtime friends. We're very similar in our ideologies of filmmaking. And the other filmmaker I met through them watching Island was Dan Lotz, and he runs a YouTube channel called $5 Film School. And basically his goal there is essentially what my goal is in a lot of ways, and that's to convince people you can make a movie nowadays for no money and put it out yourself. And he does a lot of these like little videos that are like how to do this cheap, how to do this easy, and I admire his pursuit of that. But this summer he actually spent the last couple months filming and editing a film that was totally improvised called Chlorine, and it's not out yet, but keep your eyes out for it next year. It's really good. I really love a improvised movie. That's what most of my movies are. I don't know where they're going, and there's a lot of excitement in that because it's not about executing as much as it is about reacting and adapting and figuring like yourself out each day, which I think he did a great job doing that. So Chlorine, Dan Lotz, that's a great one. I watched all these documentaries by this Canadian filmmaker, Allan King. Allan King is this filmmaker who is doing what he calls actuality dramas, but nowadays they'd probably be closer to resembling reality TV. But like he has these films called A Married Couple, which is you're just in the home of a married couple watching them like live their life and their marriage breaks down. And he does another one, Dying at Grace, where you just watch these 5 terminal patients slowly die. And his most devastating perhaps is Warrendale, which he goes to like this home for troubled kids. I think it was in the 60s. And it's just like so hard to watch because you know it's all real. But at the same time, the way it's presented isn't like talking. It's not like a documentary that I don't like, which is like talking heads, people talking to the camera like this happened and then they reenact it. You're actually watching it in real time happen with no commentary, nothing to like form a narrative. You're just existing in these spaces, and through that simplicity, they actually come out feeling like a fictional work. And sometimes you have to remind yourself they're real because you have what you have in any other movie. You have characters, you have like key moments and like story arcs, character arcs, and then you're like, oh wait, these are actually real people, which makes it all the harder to watch. They're really hard to watch, but really rewarding. When I released Island, I made kind of a statement out, and this statement holds to this day, but I said, if you make a movie and release it online yourself, I will watch it. A full-length movie that's like 40 minutes and up. And the first one I was sent was by this channel, Tell Your Friends. He does a lot of kind of extreme stuff, but he did this open mic tour that was him driving home and along the way stopping at all these little crummy open mics, and it was like this docu-vlog about that, and he sent me that. And his stuff is more edgy. If you're not into shocking, edgy humor, you might not love it, but I think it wound up being a pretty like potent it captured the feeling of returning home and the comfort that brings, and in a really nice way come the end. All right, next I watched Abbas Kiarostami's Koker trilogy. He's I believe, Iranian filmmaker, and his films have always been, the few I've seen have been very influential on me because he's a lot about calling into question the artificiality of filmmaking and if the artifice and truth behind it can coexist. And so he did this trilogy called the Koker trilogy, which is Where Is My Friend's House, Life and Nothing More, and Through the Olive Trees. And they're really interesting. Essentially, Where Is My Friend's House is a more classical narrative film that he did in this town, this little village called Coker, and it follows like a boy trying to get his friend's journal back before school the next day. And then the town in real life was hit by an earthquake. So then he made a film about a filmmaker returning to the town to find the little boy from the other film. So the filmmaker is clearly him, but it's played by an actor. And then through that film, Through the Olive Trees, which was my absolute favorite of the three, Through the Olive Trees tells the story of, there's this one scene in Life and Nothing More, which has like a couple kind of talking and arguing. And then Through the Olive Trees tells the story of this unrequited love story between these two actors. So there's actually, in Through the Olive Trees, there's two people playing him as the director. So it's very meta. It's like all these is a trilogy that is about the making of the previous film each time, which is really interesting. And then here I have some channels on YouTube I've been watching. There's this guy, Brian Ropar, who's kind of like, I'd say he probably has like Asperger's or something, but he's this guy who just does all these crazy experiments in his house. He collects lawn chairs for some reason. He always does these goofy videos where he like is hurting himself or something. He like touches a exposed electric wire, and he's just like a kooky guy, and just the way he captures it is very funny. So all these channels, I'll just put like one of my favorite videos in the description, and I'd hope you'd check out some more of their stuff. But going off that same kind of note, one of my favorite things about YouTube is this very natural, free-form documentary that's forming, where a channel will actually almost inadvertently give you such a glimpse into someone's life. And there's this couple, Cody Clarke actually showed me this couple. The channel is Kim Coleman, and it's just this very strange couple. They're clearly both kind of socially awkward, but they have this one video called My Proposal, where the guy proposes to the girl. And like for a lot of the videos, yeah, you're probably laughing at them if you're watching them. But this one is just like one of the most beautiful things I've seen. It's just a raw cell phone footage like of him proposing to her. But just the way it's shot, it just feels like they're trying to share this personal moment, but it's like you can't hear him. It's like not a very pretty place to propose. It's like in the middle of some field. And it's like, that really hit me hard. It was like all these wonderful choices that were being inadvertently made for a wonderful piece of filmmaking that probably did not have much intention beyond let's film myself proposing, but it led to something totally different, and that excites me a lot. Let me make sure we're still recording. Okay. Up next is some goofy ones I like. I guess this one is one that made me laugh. I'm going to do ones that make me laugh a lot now. So Sven Johnson, Gus Johnson's brother, did one I think it's called When People Introduce Themselves to Me. And it's just a very relatable thing of your brain kind of fucking not giving a shit and throwing their name out as soon as you meet them. And that was too relatable. Jack Gordon, who acts in some of my films, he has this channel he calls Richard Pumpaloaf, and his stuff cracks me up like nothing else. And I'll put some of my favorites. He does some with his brother where they're like having like a FaceTime email that kind of cracks me the hell up. Another channel is Gall. It's this kind of chaotic channel, and his best one is called We're No Longer Friends, and it's just him flipping the hell out that somebody stole his baseball card. That was really good. That one had me dying. Another channel is The Minute Hour, kind of an underrated channel. He has quite a following, but still small, all things considered. He does a lot of audio skits where he like kind of builds an audio space and plays characters, and they're very vivid and hilarious. And sometimes he'll have like a guest animator actually animate them, but even the ones that are just audio are great. And what else do I have here? Oh, G John's. G John's, that's a rabbit hole I'm not going to open up. But I found this guy called G John's who is always trying to sell his curriculum of how to be clean. And I don't even want to spoil it, but I really recommend, I'm going to post one of G. Johnson's videos in the description. And if you want, you could dive down that rabbit hole. They're the most, I can't place if it's a joke or not, or where the joke ends and where it's serious. And I've watched hundreds of his things, and they always crack me up, but I have no idea like what's going on. They're great. This random video I found called "This Bowl Is Too Hot" by Raffums. It only has a couple hundred views, but that made me laugh so much when I first saw it. It's just like a parody of kind of like Nickelodeon sitcoms, and it really nails the tone. The Shrek Dog Show by Chen Banhi. I think everyone's seen that at that point, but I watched it like 10 times. Just Shrek animated into a dog show. Okay, Andrew Hales, who did the Lahf, Lahwf. I think he did those prank videos, but he also has a vlog channel, and some of his vlogs are really raw, and I watched some of those at a good time to watch them, and I think he's onto something there, and I don't think he knows it. He's very down on himself. He feels like he needs to become a real filmmaker, but I think he's making some wonderful films just on that channel alone. Then there's Jack Stauber. He's the animator, and he did this one called Help and this one called Rain that both were very emotional for me. They touched me in a way, and I love Jack Stauber. I'm not into his music too much, but I love that he's kind of like living proof that you can be this YouTube auteur. You know, he has such a style, such a distinct voice, and he's succeeding. And it's just he's like living proof that like YouTube is this environment for like creativity to thrive. And let's see, Stevie B, Americano. My friend went to an Italian-American music night or something, and they played this ridiculous song called Americano by Stevie B. And it turns out it just came out that day when they played it. He must have known somebody, but it's just the most Italian song you'll ever hear. It's just about pizza or something, but it's like a club remix, and it's that. Okay. GeoGuessr Wizard. He's just a guy who's really good at GeoGuessr, and I loved watching his videos. He went big because he did crossing the country in a straight line, and I like that too. That felt like a really kind of cozy home video. I watched it all. It was like 5 hours, I think. But just his videos doing GeoGuessr are something I've loved putting on in the background. He does great commentary, very soothing. Chordley's I appreciate because he's also a very distinct voice on the website, and his one "Why You Sittin' Alone" though really made me laugh, where all these dudes are trying to pick up some girl on a park bench. So that one got me good. BG Cumby, he's this kind of classic YouTube troll. He used to troll 4chan, and he went on Fox News pretending to be Antifa and stuff like that. And he had this really, Dylan the Hacker, who was this other troll, passed away, and they were close, and he had this video called "My Best Friend Is Gone," and it was like very, very potent and sad, because you could feel that like there was this tension where he didn't want to be goofy, but he also almost put himself in a hole where he had to be this goofy YouTube guy, and it was very emotional. He was crying, basically on the verge of tears, and that was a tough video to watch. Two comedians I really like that I've watched their stuff. Connor O'Malley, he's batshit insane. He does a talk show from the middle of a river, and he and his friend Carmen Christopher, who also he made this film called "I'm Killing It." I think it's only on Vimeo, but I'll post that in the description. That one really gets me. he opens with this big loud speech on a subway, and he's done a couple of those on Instagram as well. And of course, New York subways, no one gives a shit about you. They're just ignoring you, so it's really funny to see him. Mike Rocket. I went to open mic at a kind of local place in New York City, and this guy comes on called Mike Rocket, and he sings his song "Dreaming of a Better World," which it's like it's this ridiculous like call for world peace kind of song, and but just with the passion he sings it, it's so funny. It's like it's just at risk of sounding mean, it's a very amateur song in a way that just makes it so endearing and funny, and that's just a nonstop joke between my friends and I. And I did the video. I did World Peace. It's easy peasy. That music video was actually kind of in response to seeing this guy Mike Rocket play his World Peace song. This new channel I found is called Neighbors from Hell, Staley Road. And it's this guy who lives in Fort Myers, Florida, who just has nothing better to do, and he's just always yelling at people driving by his house. And he's just, he's like an old curmudgeon, and clearly everyone in the town hates him, and he's always calling the sheriff department to report people. And it's kind of this ongoing story you could follow. He posts like 5 times a day, and I think it's like a thing that feeds into itself because he's doing this so much. I think people purposefully speed by him and honk and yell at him to get him angry, and it's just like this just miserable thing that made me laugh. This last week, Brian Jordan Alvarez has been doing this series called Divorce, where he just puts on these horrible accents, and he's been doing it every day. And I don't know how long he's gonna do it. It's still going. But that made me laugh recently. Joe Pera, who does Joe Pera Talks with You on Adult Swim. That's a really good show. You should watch that. The 2nd season just started, but he was on Stephen Colbert, and I was actually shocked because Joe Pera plays this quiet, mild-mannered character that most people would take an opportunity to take some pokes at, but his interview on Stephen Colbert was actually really great because Stephen played it so straight, and they just had the most boring conversation ever. That was just so great. Bojack Horseman. Love Bojack Horseman. That just hits me in all the right ways. It's one of the few TV shows I watch. And then the last thing I have written here is a complete history of music, which is this video by Adrian Gray Comedy, and it's just it starts with like Ed Sheeran's "Shape of You" and goes back decade by decade, and the songs just get more and more ridiculous. But yeah, that made me laugh. Yeah, I guess that's everything I had written. Happy holidays. Wish you the best. Love you. Bye-bye. Oh. I almost forgot. The offer's still open. If you make a movie, I will watch it. So make a movie and post it on YouTube, and I will watch your movie, and I will tell people to watch it, and I'll leave you a nice comment. So make a movie. Love you.